Hello you guys, my name's Jay and I love to bake cupcakes, brownies, cake, anything. I love to make food. And this photo right here is hilarious and yet relatable at the same time. So today I'm going to be talking about coming out of the broom closet and is it a good idea? So there are pros to coming out of the broom closet. You don't feel like you have to sneak around, you can be who you want to be, stuff like that. But at the same time, I personally know people that have come out as Wiccan and have been kicked out and disowned, and yeah, it's horrible. I'm not saying this to disencourage, I'm just giving you pros and cons of this. I've said this in multiple videos. When I came out to my dad saying, hey, I'm pagan, my dad did not care. My dad's pretty chill. My dad did not care. My mom has passed away, so I didn't tell her. But I was messing around with witchcraft and paganism when I was living with my mom in middle school. And my mom didn't really have a thing about it. She was like, oh, she's just a kid, she's just fooling around in something, she'll grow out of it, it's a phase, whatever. But my mom's boyfriend at the time freaked out, called me a devil worshiper, and tried to break the binding of my book, which he has succeeded in doing. He broke a little bit of the binding of it. And I freaked out. It wasn't because that was my witchcraft book. It was because my dad gave it to me that are under 18. And I'm going to say this because normally once you're 18, you can, live on your own. You can legally be on your own. And that can be a good thing if you tell your parents at 18 and they kick you out, because you won't be at the mercy of your parents just kicking you out. You can get a job, you can get a car, you can get a place most of the time. So you're not completely helpless. If you get kicked out at 14, you can't drive, you can't really get a job, you can't really do anything. So yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about, is it really a good idea? Now these are just questions that you should normally just ask your parent. You should ask yourself. Are they against any other religion other than their own? And if you don't know, just ask. Just say, hey, I have a project in school, or I saw this topic online about other religions. What do you think about it? What's your stance on it? And that'll give you some indicator. Sometimes you can even go as far to ask, what is paganism, what is Wicca? Most people don't normally know what Wicca is, but with paganism, it's a little bit more common. And if they get on you about asking, you can just say, I heard the term in school, I just want to know what it's about. Now, if you're in a Catholic school, that might be a little harder to spin. And if you are in a Catholic school, don't. Just don't. Don't come out, wait till you're 18, or try and say, hey, I don't want to be in Catholic school anymore. Just because I want to, experience people. But, yeah. Another one is, if you are fully dependent on your parents, do not come out. Unless you know for sure that they will not freak out. And normally, you can ask, leading questions, once a month or something like that. Or once a week, you can be yo, what is this? Let's sit down, have a conversation about it. Just because I don't want anyone to get kicked out, I don't want anyone to be homeless or anything like that. That's horrible. So just take a little extra precaution if you are unable to stand on your own. Another question is like, how do you tell your parents what Wicca is without really involving like witchcraft and magic? Because normally once you start talking about witchcraft, and if your parents are a Christian or a Catholic or whatever it may be, once you say witchcraft, they're gonna freak the fuck out. They're probably gonna be like, oh my god, you devil worshipping person, like how dare you, we raised you right, blah 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 blah. So yeah. You can just be like, hey, parental units, because I don't really know, like, if you just live with grandparents, your parents, anyone, just be like, yo, parental units. Wicca isn't bad, it's just a polytheistic, which means you believe in more than one deity. Exactly. You believe in two or more gods than Christianity. That's about it. And it's basically just an earth-based religion, you know, love, peace, harmony, stuff like that. Another question is, so you don't believe in God? That you might get, and how to answer that is, like, you can say, I do believe in God, as well as another deity called a goddess. Bam. Just keep your answers short, simple, easy to understand, just because it might confuse them, and they might even try to, like, manipulate and to spin what you say into something that it wasn't, or they're going to try and take it out of context. I don't know if they will, but I know of some people that this has happened to, so, yeah. Another question is, isn't Wicca worshipping the devil and a cult? This irritates me. Something you can say is, parental units. You raised a smart kid, please trust me, I'm not joining a cult. I'm not worshipping the devil. All I'm doing is I believe in a god and a goddess, two deities, that's all, not anything bad. Another one is, so tips that I can say if you are going to tell your parents is prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That's something my dad tells me all the time. Is, you know, prepare for things to go to hell. You know, you may or may not lose a parent or both parents by telling them this. I've heard people that have been that got kicked out and homeless, but their parents were like, okay, we overreacted, you can come back home, and they just don't talk about it, they just don't bring it up, which is fine, which is completely fine. Just, like I said, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, yeah, that's all you gotta do, that's all you can do, really. Another tip I would say is, if you're closer to one parent than another, tell that parent that you're closer with first. Like obviously my mom found out before my dad that I was doing this, but like I said, she didn't really think anything of it. She was like, oh, she's just being a kid, she'll grow out of it phase. But my dad was just like, okay, chill, whatever. And when I told him that he was the one that started the whole thing with me, getting me like that witchcraft and practical magic book, he was like, I did not. And he kind of freaked out a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, you did. Yeah. And he's like, oh, nice. But that's about it. And then normally how the parent that you're closest with will react is probably along the lines of how that other parent will react. So you do have some preparation when you tell your other parent. If you hear any snoring, that's my dog. He's sleeping like I should be, but no. like, reassure your parents, like, you're still, like, the child you were 2 seconds ago before you told your parents. So, yeah, like, just remind them, like, nothing's changed. I'm still typical me. So, yeah. If they have any, like, questions or anything like that, tell them that you can always bring it up. You can ask questions about it to me. Like, just try not to jump to conclusions. Another one is keep your voice calm. You don't want to raise your voice. You don't want to come off defensive or anything like that. Another thing you can do is, like, ask them to trust how they raised you, and they raised a smart kid. So, yeah. Another, like, bad reaction I've had when I told someone I was Wicca was my aunt, and she was like, okay, whatever. She became a little defensive, I want to say, and afterwards I told her, like, I was kind of nervous, and she spun it as in I wasn't proud to be Wiccan. I wasn't confident in what I believed, which is total bullshit, and that fucked me up for a few days afterwards, to say I'm not proud of my religion and my beliefs just because I was nervous to tell you something that is a big issue. When there are Wiccans that have been kicked out, that have been not publicly shamed, this is not Cersei Lannister, but that have been just cut out of their whole family. That's something to be a little worried about and a little scared going into telling them. Now, preface by saying my aunt did bring up Wicca, because there's this Wiccan that was, like, attacking her priest for their beliefs, which is, don't do that. Please don't do that. That's not cool. But I know a lot of Wiccans and pagans that go through that whole anti-Christian, hating Christian thing. I get that. I have even been there at one point in my life, but that's a totally separate issue. But yeah, and then I told her, like, yo, that's not what it's about, and she was like, well, how do you know? And instead of saying, oh, I just read about it, I went to say, I'm Wiccan. Big whoop. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the video. I hope it was somewhat informative and I made some sense. So, yeah.